of getting to even across the vendor table is why we are here, why you are here, and where we're here as MCs. To reimagine a world where the dynamics of power and influence for women are elevated, biases neutralized, and more female investors invest in female founders. This vision of getting to even across the vendor table is why we are here, why you are here, and where we're here as MCs. To reimagine a world where the dynamics of power and influence for women are elevated, biases neutralized, and more female investors invest in female founders.
Hello and welcome to the Sorry about that. Hello and welcome to Women's Fast Pitch Northwest Edition. My name is Raven O'Neill and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Stella. I want to thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to join us in supporting our community of female founders. I'd also like to take a minute to welcome and introduce you to our founder and board chair, Dr. Sylvia Ma. Dr. Ma will be joining me as a co-host for this event. Welcome, Sylvia.
Thanks for having me, and it's exciting to hear all of these founders pitch amazingly well. And also thank you to the judges for coming in and all of our sponsors. Back to you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Our biggest support, one of our biggest supporters is Cooley, who is here today. I'm not sure if Cooley had a rep that was going to come on and say hello. If not, oh, there's Alana. Hi, Alana.
Hi, yes, I know our partner Karen Deshane is very happy to support this event across the Cooley platform, and we're so excited to once again be a sponsor of the Women's Venture Summit. I'll just say at a very high level, congratulations to all of the presenters, and thanks so much to you and your team for helping to make this happen. We're a global law firm, for those of you that don't know us, of more than 1,500 lawyers across the United States, Europe, and Asia. And I'm happy to see that Karen has joined us now. So I'll turn it over to Karen, who I know had some remarks as well. Thanks so much.
Hi,
Thanks,
Karen.
Alana. I got stuck in the waiting room. Sorry, everybody. It sounds like Alana's covered it. Cooley is really proud to be a returning partner in support of the Women's Venture Summit and this fast pitch competition in particular. We've been doing this for a number of years. It's really exciting for us to be able to be involved, to meet you founders, to provide a little bit of education at the end of the session. So also, I just want to mention, in addition to what Alana just mentioned, we as a firm are deeply committed to diversity. For our own employees and the women founders we support. We recently ranked as a top law firm in Fortune's Best Workplace for Women, Best Workplace for Parents, and Best Workplace for Diversity. We're involved with several platforms with the goal of placing women on boards. And then, of course, with the Women's Venture Summit with women founders in particular. So thank you again for having us.
Oh, thank you for being here, ladies. Cooley supports us year over year, and we're honored that you want to come alongside us every time. Next up, we have another long-term sponsor, the Impact Seat Foundation. The Impact Seat Foundation has the goal of closing the wealth opportunity gap. Their full stack philanthropy melds impact investing, grant making, and advocacy to sustain an ecosystem and community for women leaders across the globe. They've created a short video for you guys to enjoy.
Hi, I'm Barbara Clark, founder and board chair of the Impact Seat Foundation, a proud sponsor of the 2022 Women's Venture Summit. At the Impact Seat Foundation, we're creating a world in which women, particularly women of color, can succeed as business leaders. I've been attending the Women's Venture Summit since the beginning, and it's great to see how far it's come. We're honored to be part of this event and to have Stella and the entire Women's Venture Summit team as valued members of our ecosystem. As an impact investor with a career spanning over a decade, I've invested over 60 companies and dozens of funds, all of which are led by women. Now I've donated a large percentage of that portfolio to the foundation so that when these investments are successful, which they will be, they'll further fund our mission. I call this model full stack philanthropy. At the foundation, we want to fortify the ecosystem and close the equity and opportunity gap by offering grants, resources, and webinars. If you're here today, then that means you're a highly innovative and talented business leader. The Impact Seat Foundation is here to support you. On the impactseat.org website, you can access our body of rich resources developed to help you achieve your business goals, such as my new book, Build Your Board, Build Your Business. I wrote this book for people like you who need a board of directors but aren't sure when or how to build one. I want to demystify this process for you because I've seen how an effective board of directors is going to be your secret sauce to success. Let's build a new economy together. And now, on with the show.
Thank you again to the Impact Seat Foundation and Cooley for being with us long term. We love the partnership. And lastly, our judging tech sponsor, Rocket Judge, thank you so much for also coming alongside us. Now, you're here for the fast pitch in the Northwest. I'd like to introduce you to, give you a little bit of background. This is in its 7th year. We have 5 regions over 5 weeks. This is the second to the last one being in the Southwest next week. The winner of each region goes on to pitch at the Venture Summit in September, with an investment opportunity of $10,000 and $30,000 of in-kind. Next up, I'd like to introduce you to Stella. If you haven't been introduced to Stella before, We are Stella. We connect women founders and investors to the right resources at the right time in their journeys. From ideation to funding to exit, women founders and investors look to Stella for its powerful constellation of support made up of an inclusive community, curriculum, access to capital events, and an annual summit, advisory service, and funding opportunities. So please stay till the very end to wait for 3 special announcements. Now, I'd like to welcome Sylvia back to introduce you to the judges.
Thanks, Raven, so much. The judges come with our own volunteer time. They come to really be an influence and an impact to our larger ecosystem across the nation. So it's always my pleasure and honor to introduce all of them. So first up is Nico Ramirez. She's a Chief Experience Officer for Chloe Capital. I got to meet her at a Chloe Capital event, and wow, is she dynamite. In addition, Nico is a real estate and angel investor. She has built several lifestyle businesses from the ground up, which catalyzed her passion for helping entrepreneurs and others in venture capital. Nico is always on the cutting edge of technology, currently as a successful NFT collector and a DeFi enthusiast. So welcome, Nico. Thank you so much for being a judge. Next up is Regina Bernal. She's a director for strategic inclusion at Connect, driving DEI strategy across the innovation ecosystem. She has been a huge supporter of the Women's Venture Summit since inception. So we have some OGs in the house today with so many wonderful people here. So Regina, thank you so much for all of the time that you spent so many years. But Regina is also a keynote speaker and founder of the Trailblazer Within. She has been recognized as one of the top influential business leaders by the San Diego Business Journal. So thank you, Regina, for again being a judge today. Next up is Cheryl Conti, the CEO of the Impact Seat Foundation. I have had the pleasure of knowing Cheryl for many years, and she comes with such great empathy and experience to all of our founders when they say, hey, I need a pitch coach, or I need somebody to talk to. She comes in and she just transforms those founders. So Cheryl is amazing. She's also an award-winning founder and chair of the mission-driven digital agency Do Big Things. She's also an Amazon bestselling author of Mechanical Bull, How You Can Achieve Startup Success, which I love, and co-founder of Attentively, the first tech startup with a Black female founder to be acquired by a NASDAQ company. So Cheryl, thank you so much for being here. And last but not least is Al Bashara, a managing partner at Interlock Capital, a community-driven startup fund that allows seasoned or aspiring angel investors to get into amazing companies within their own budget. And I am one of those investors. So I love their platform. I love their inclusive nature. And really, they do talk about this all the time, is really investing in amazing companies that they bring to your table that you can really invest in. So Al has been a founder or operator in early stage startups for over 2 decades. His goal is to do something unique and impactful in venture and make it super easy for any type of investor to have access to great deals. Thank you so much, Al, for being part of the show today. Now, next up is an intro to meet the founders that are pitching today. I always love seeing that video. It always gets me hyped up for the day. How will it go from here on out? The pitch process is the founders get 3 minutes to pitch, and we're timing them. Then they'll have 5 minutes of Q&A with 4 judges. And questions are always told to the judges to be supportive, clarifying, or promotion focused, to have that rich dialogue instead of just the nitty-gritty. So judging rubric consists of 4 criteria: business model, product market fit, execution and team, and presentation. So with that, then I want to introduce pitch number 1 of the night. It's the hardest one to kind of start it off. So thank you so much for starting us off. First up is Xenia Kachur of REWIRE. We can see your screen. Go ahead.
What if you could get the mental health benefits of 1 year of regular exercise, 1 year of healthy eating, and 1 year of better sleep in 8 weeks without changing any of those things? Well, there's no magic pill, but there is cutting edge brain science. We've been treating mental health symptoms for thousands of years. It's been a problem as long as we've had brains. And our methods for addressing those issues have evolved in step functions as we've increased our ability to study the brain. Now we're at a new and massive step function. In the last decade, we've uncovered a connection between inflammation and mental health. People who have high levels of inflammation in the brain report symptoms of depression, anxiety, sleep troubles, brain fog, and memory loss. Do you know what the scariest part of that is? Causes of inflammation are everywhere: chronic stress, poor sleep, unhealthy diet. But here's the good news. If we treat the inflammation, we treat the root of these symptoms. REWIRE is the first to commercialize this cutting-edge research and bring it directly to consumers in an accessible service. This is a major green space where no mental health app or digital solution can make an impact. At a REWIRE Brain Wellness Center, we specifically target the brain inflammation that underlies mental health. We combine the 5 health technologies that are most effective at reducing inflammation in the brain. These are used together in a proprietary 45-minute one-on-one training session that we've shown delivers substantial, measurable improvements in common mental health issues in just 8 weeks. We've been operating our first REWIRE Center for 18 months, where we've worked with over 100 paying customers. We validated our premium price point in a user pay model, and we've confirmed there's high demand. We've seen an incredible try to buy conversion rate of 66%, and customers are referring their friends and family. Now we're ready to scale, which we'll do through a 3-phased expansion strategy. In each city, we are using a hybrid model of retail storefronts and mobile wellness centers to accelerate scalability and reduce operational risk. We have the perfect team to execute on this. I have 10 years of experience founding retail, consumer goods, and medical device startups and have successfully exited. And I'm deeply passionate about mental health. Luke Starbuck is a seasoned tech executive with multiple exits, and he's published a book on mindfulness. Doctors Eileen Ruhoy and Corey Funk are nationally renowned experts in neurology and neuroinflammatory diseases. Our clients love their results. REWIRE's mission is to bring this impact to millions more people like them. We're actively raising $1.5 million to make this happen. Come REWIRE with us and transform mental health.
Wonderful, wonderful job. Love that it was very clear to the point of your launch and expansion. So the Q&A will be led by 2 of our judges, and that's typically how it goes in these pitches. So the Q&A will be led by Regina and Al. So who would like to go first? Let's see. Al, you're ready. You have your video on, so go ahead.
No problem. So I don't think I picked up on it, but I'm curious how you acquired, I think it was 73 customers, and what did it cost you to do so?
Great question. So we have primarily acquired our customers through passive marketing, meaning through our founders' personal networks. And then from there, it's been almost exclusively referrals. We've done very little active marketing during this proof of concept phase where we validated the technology and validated our product market fit. And then our cost for customer acquisition is $132 per customer, and they convert to a $2,400 foundation program of 8 weeks of REWIRE sessions.
Great, thanks.
So I had a question about, like, I didn't see anything about legal. So what are some of your, kind of legal, do you have that expertise on your team? Is that something that you're protected, and what does that look like?
Yeah, another great question. Thanks, Regina. Our legal team happens to be on here, actually. Our legal team's led by Phoebe at Cooley, and they're ensuring that all of our liability contracts with clients are in place. Our obviously employment contracts, advisory contracts, that legal infrastructure, HR is intact. The other piece of legal is, of course, regulatory. We've met with regulatory consultants, and the FDA does not regulate services, so we don't have any barriers there.
Thanks.
Do we have time for more questions? Or are we done here?
No, you have 5 minutes. You have a lot of question time.
Yeah,
All right,
go for it,
cool.
Al. We have 5 minutes.
Awesome. I think the deck mentioned, and you may have as well, that there were some case studies that have been performed on your protocol. And I was wondering if you could sort of dive into those a little bit and share a little bit about what you've learned about, how your protocol works and all that.
Yeah, I would love to. Let me pull up this image. So the way that we've structured our case studies is, the thing about mental health is that it's generally difficult to measure, it's qualitative, but there are standards of practice in neuropsychiatry and neurology that look at neuropsychological and neurocognitive measures, such as depression, fatigue, sleep, anxiety, everything you see here. So before people participate in our REWIRE program, we'll do a baseline assessment using these gold standards for testing. And then we'll test them at a midpoint, and we'll test them after. And so we've looked at 10 different indications. I'll highlight 3 here. Here's depression within 40 sessions, which in this case was 6 weeks. This individual went from all severe and moderate to not a problem and mild. This person came in, their primary indication or complaint was ADHD and anxiety. Within 3 weeks, they went from severe and moderate to mostly mild and not a problem. And here's someone who came in with a traumatic brain injury, and you can see within that 6-week period, all those symptoms were reduced.
Have you raised any money to date?
Yes, we have done a friends and family round of 140,000. So that got us to this point. And then of our $1.5 million current round, we have 500,000 of that filled.
We have like 30 more seconds if we have a quick question.
Yeah, I would love to, like the case studies. Are you doing the assessment, or are they doing a self-assessment for the scoring? How does that work?
Yes, great question. So it's a third-party platform that disseminates the test. So we'll provide a remote link that's secure to that client. They do it remotely, and then we get the results. And so that can be analyzed by us, and then we have a clinical advisory board that's also there to support in adjusting protocols as needed.
Awesome. Thank you, judges. Thank you, Xenia. You did such
Thank
a
you
great
so
job.
much.
Thanks so much. So that was awesome. I want to remind the audience out there is that below the YouTube that you're watching right now, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have all of the things going out on YouTube, and also click on that little bell because that notifies you when something awesome happens from Stella. And that is a stellar thing to be a part of. So this is awesome. Thank you for being part of today's audience and be part of our presentation today. So next up is pitch number 2. Just want to make sure. Oh, yay, she is here. Perfect. Our next pitching wonderful founder is Vlasta Schutzenhofer of roura. And I butchered that, and I'm so sorry. La Latina comes out, and then I say it completely off. So you go ahead and let's see your screen.
Okay.
Wonderful. I see it. Yes, and it's full screen. Go ahead.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Vlasta Schutzenhofer, CEO and founder of roura. I'm sure I don't need to tell many of you just how debilitating period cramps can be, but you might not understand the full scope of them even with that personal experience. In the US, we lose over 300 million days of productivity every year because of period cramps, as well as them being the #1 reason why teenage girls are missing out on their education. Period cramp relief is a $7.2 billion market in the US today. Yet we're still stuck with the same options as we were offered in the 1970s, meaning they're inaccessible, ineffective, or just plain bulky. And frankly, we were sick of it. So my co-founder and I invented the Relief Brief. The Relief Brief is a patent-pending smart underwear which uses heat and gentle, non-vibrating massage to soothe period cramps hands-free on the go. It's discreetly controlled with our smartphone app and is completely unseen under clothing. We're currently testing with a cohort of beta users who have said things like, "My cramps disappeared within an hour. I love that it's sleek, and I want to wear this all day." The reason our users love the Relief Brief is because we get it. We're a team founded and led by mechanical engineers with period cramps, determined to solve this problem for ourselves and others. And we're advised by experts in design, medicine, and business, making us the perfect team to bring this product to market. We'll be launching at the beginning of 2023 at our validated price point of $199, which over the lifetime of the product is the same as ibuprofen. And we'll be using strategies like micro-influencer partnerships, a crowdfunding campaign, and strategic retail partnerships to grow our customer base in those critical first few months. We have the right team, we have the right strategy, and now is the right time for us to launch. The boom of femtech over the past few years shows that women are no longer willing to settle for products not designed with them in mind. And additionally, there is a growing need for types of pain relief that don't involve medication, and we hope to apply our technology to other types of chronic pain in the next few years. After bootstrapping and receiving grants from the Wharton School, we're now looking to raise a pre-seed round and are excited to connect with angel investors and venture capitalists who want to innovate in women's health and consumer technology. So join us. Help women do something about their period cramps rather than just deal with them. Thank you.
Wonderful job. I love the pace. I love the technology. Well done. I know it's hard to pitch a technology company in a short amount of time, so you did a really good job. Your Q&A will be led by Cheryl and Al. So let's see who's available. Cheryl, you want to start? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Sure. Yes. Hi. So as a longtime period sufferer from cramps, I actually asked to be one of the judges because this is a dream come true. I wish that I want to go back in time and tell my 13-year-old self, like, help is coming. It's going to be okay. So a few questions. So is it also a period panty or is it just the gear?
So currently the underwear is not an absorbent underwear. There are just pockets in the front and back, so you can adjust where you're getting the relief based on where you're having the most pain that day. But we do plan to expand into absorbent period underwear sometime in the future.
Okay, yes, because the combo was. And what's your marketing strategy? I didn't see anyone on your team who really had strong sales and marketing beyond your business advisor. So what, how do you, there are a lot of, competitive, products out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. So where we see the ability to be successful in marketing is really by targeting people who are already online talking about periods, and leveraging the sort of feeling of closeness that comes from a lot of micro influencers who are actively out there talking about having endometriosis, adenomyosis, just severe cramps. And because in our user research, we found that people talk to their sisters, their best friends, and their moms about periods. And so by creating that feeling of closeness in all of our marketing and sales strategies, that's how we'll be successful and stand out in this field.
So influencer engagement, is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And last question, I didn't see a competitor slide. Who do you see as your direct competitors? Obviously, Advil is a competitor, but besides Advil, who else is in this market?
Yeah, actually, I have a competitive matrix that I could share with you if that's all right.
And we'll turn it over to Al.
Yeah, so there are a lot of competitors in this field. A couple notable ones are TENS machines like Ovira and Livia, which have gained a lot of notoriety over the past few years. But other than that, for the most part, people are still using what their moms told them to use, sometimes, 50 years prior, which is ibuprofen and either plug-in heating pads or hot water bottles. So we really do see a space to bring some innovation into this field and have something that's effective and fits into people's lives.
Absolutely. It's really unique. A friend of mine, Lauren Schulte, invented Flex, the menstrual cups that are now, and I remember seeing it for the first time in Target and be like, yeah, we're doing it. So, good luck to you, and I'll hand it over to Al.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Really great questions.
Cheryl, yeah, you did. You asked awesome questions. Two of them were the same ones that I had. So the questions I want to ask now, I want to learn a little bit about the cohort. You said that you kind of have a cohort that's working right now. I'm curious, how big is the cohort? Who are the users? How did you select them? That sort of process.
Yeah, so currently the cohort is about 6 people. It's 6 people. That's what we're able to support with the amount we can manufacture at the moment. But how we've selected them is to get a really wide range of age, pain levels, activity levels, lifestyles, with the idea that if we can sort of meet the needs of all the people on the edges, that's the most likely to help the people in the middle. And then beyond this initial cohort, we'll be refining the design and then continuing testing.
Got it.
And these were people who reached out to us just, sorry, I would like to answer that last bit of the question. There are people who reached out to us online, and the response has actually been really amazing. We put up like a quick Instagram ad and have strangers offering to, let us into their homes and to help us out. It's been really cool.
That's awesome. And so I saw a note in there that you had a validated price point. And so I would love to learn, what is that validation? How did you get to a validation? I know it was about $200, but how did you get that? And what makes you believe you have validated it?
Yeah, so we validated it through a bunch of ad testing, and putting different prices on the ads and then optimizing for profit and number of customers.
Great. Good to hear.
Wonderful. We're out of time. So you did a really great job. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Vlasta, for wonderful question and answer period. Well, up next, we have our next pitching person. But before we go on to the next one, I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to Rocket Judge, the platform that the judges are using today to actually go in and mark their scores up. So Rocket Judge is a flexible judging platform that lets you make your competitions and evaluations more exciting, dynamic, and stress-free. Just add your judges, competitors, and rubric and watch the scores roll on in. Try a free demo at www.rocketjudge.com today. So with that, I want to introduce you to pitch number 3. I just want to make sure that she is here. Yes, wonderful. I can't see the screen and see my cheat sheet. So up next is pitch number 3 of the Northwest, Mallory Morse of Just Right Bite.
Okay.
And we see your screen. Let's get it
Wonderful.
full screen.
Yes.
Wonderful. You're all ready to go.
Perfect. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Mallory Morse, founder and CEO at Just Right Bite. We offer an alternative to traditional pet food by replacing the protein ingredients in pet food like chicken, beef, and fish with insects. We are environmentally minded fur parents innovating new food solutions to provide sustainable, top quality nutrition to our pets, because pets in the United States consume 30% of the meat produced in the United States, which has a massive carbon footprint. And with recent humanization trends in pet food and with pets in general, our pets are now fur babies, and that's increasing the demand for higher quality products. So the current pet food offerings are forcing pet parents to choose between their animal's health and their own values. So the solution we've created is we've developed an end-to-end pet food line that uses insects in place of other animal proteins. We've integrated circularity into our business to ensure that we can deliver on those sustainable promises. And we are creating a brand and a community that resonates with our customers. So the real question I'm sure you're asking is, do the dogs eat the dog food or do the dogs eat the bug-based food? And the answer is yes. We develop our products with dog palates in mind, and we have a wake of satisfied dog customers in our history. So there are several market signals that are indicating that this is the right time to roll out our venture. Pet ownership in the United States has increased to 70%. The insect market is booming, and 27% of all pet owners are looking for sustainable options. The pet food market is massive. So the total available market here in the United States is $45 billion. We are targeting millennial pet owners, specifically the 56% of millennial pet owners concerned about their carbon paw print. So there is a competitive space. The way that we're differentiating ourselves in the pet food market is that we are integrating circularity into our company. We're using nutritional validation, and we're building a brand and community that our customers trust and reflects their values. We have a 4-phase go-to-market strategy. Phase 1 is which is where we're at right now, is we're working on validating our MVP tests and our product to make sure it gets sticky and that it's delivering the needs and meeting the needs of our end customers and their owners. We have offered online sales this summer, and we are scheduling pop-ups and farmers markets to get our product out there, and we're also participating in accelerators. Our team is full of recent University of Washington graduates with specializations in environmental engineering, as well as masters in entrepreneurship. And we have an advisory board of climate tech specialists, veterinarians, and consultants and other direct-to-consumer product specialists. Our team has had many successes in this last year with various competitions. We completed the I-Corps program this summer, and we are currently enrolled in the Jones and Foster Accelerator program at the University of Washington. We are Just Right Bite. If you would like to get involved, we're always looking for people who are passionate about climate change and sustainability. Or if you just want to support us, please follow us at Just Right Bite Food on Instagram, or email me at mallory@justrightbites.com. Thank you.
Fantastic, Mallory. I have 2 furry friends, so thank you for doing what you're doing. They would love your treats because they eat everything. Perfect. So your judging Q&A will be led by Regina and my Nico. Okay. Who would like to go first?
Sure, I'll kick it off. Hi, Mallory. I too have a small 7-pound doggy he's really old now. He's like 11 years old, but this is really interesting, and I understand that you're targeting, I guess, the individuals who will feel comfortable with feeding their dogs insects. I think it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But still, even then, I wanted to talk about, you mentioned that you guys did a pre-sale, online pre-sale. How did that turn out? What was the results of that? Did you obtain any customers or make any sales?
So we opened up online pre-orders in May for like 2 or 3 weeks, and we got 15 orders. just to see like if we just put it out there with some minimal advertising, what's going to happen. And so we opened that up, and then as production got a little more, we closed it. We're kind of opening and closing it periodically just based on our production capabilities and capacities.
Got it. And so you've have you done it a second time then? You say you're opening and closing it?
No, we just did it in the spring, and we're looking to do it this fall. And we're looking at doing more pop-ups and in-person events aside from just our online marketplace as well.
Got it. And so I would say probably besides from doing the online, from doing the in-store pop-ups and then doing the online, what is your other path to scalability to really like to start acquiring more customers and making more sales?
So we're starting, so with doing the in-person pop-ups, it's really just validating our assumptions and how we're going about our product development and packaging and validate doing that. And so we're doing event-based marketing and event like a dog costume party, like trying to just get in front of dogs, going to dog parks, getting those sort of like small in-person community oriented events so that we get that feedback before rolling out our online marketing.
Got it. So you guys are using that as like a lot more customer discovery.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, customer validation. Mm-hmm.
All right, wonderful. Great idea.
Good. So good job. Really interesting. So, I'm out of San Diego, so Petco and the dog and the animal industry is huge for us. I think something that would be super helpful, like from, the audience, if you're trying to raise money or, position it also, is to just like remind people of the huge exits that have come from similar investments, and just like, because I think right now, like I get it from the perspective, dogs love it, great. Another judge mentioned that it's good for the climate. Just help understand people like from the investment side that this is a market that really has proven a lot of traction. I know companies personally that have raised a lot of money recently in this industry, some good exits, just to help build like the business traction of a product like yours. My other one is, you mentioned millennials, and just to also understand like what are some of their habits, like what they're maybe not as sensitive to price point, but it was hard for me to understand like where you're priced in comparison, to others, and what research concretely you have of like millennials spend this much on average. Just adding a little bit more numbers, I think would go a long way, because I think the other ones are kind of no-brainers in a sense. You're going to catch people right away, but the numbers definitely would be very valuable on a pitch like this.
Okay. And do you want me to answer that? Or
yeah, that would be great.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, if you can answer it,
yes,
that would be great.
Yeah, so the millennial, we've done interviews and surveys, and then also secondary research through consumer research through Mintel. And so millennials spend, what's happening is the dog is now becoming a moment in a millennial life that's showcasing that they're established, they have consistent income. And so the fur baby is now millennials spend like an average of, I think, $175 a month on their dog. And so it's this fur baby is taking the places like a first child would before millennials have children. And so we're targeting them as being like, you got your job, you got your house, you now have your dog, and you can integrate the sustainability into your life through our dog treats.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't see any advisors. Did I miss that?
They were on our team.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have advisors through, we have a veterinarian and then other climate tech advisors as well, and some consumer product advisors. And that board is growing as well currently.
Thank you.
I'm coming on. We have time for one more quick question, 30 seconds, my Nico.
I don't have a quick 30-second question. I just this is a fantastic idea. I guess more so the climate impact of this is what is really intriguing to me. And Regina gave you some great pointers for your deck, and so great job. Keep up the work. I'm excited. What was the price again of the?
So we're currently selling them for $15 a bag, which is on par with other super premium or premium dog treat.
What's the pound? What pound? Like how many pounds?
It's 8 ounces.
Wait, the bag is 8 ounces? $15 for an 8-ounce bag. Is that what that's the price? Got it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that was a great question. I love that. I wanted to also read out what the judge Cheryl put into the chat because people on YouTube can't see that. So Cheryl says, I love this idea. Dogs can't care as long as their treats are tasty. And as someone that understands that factory farming contributes to climate change, I get the value prop. So I wanted to kind of let everybody else know, Mallory, about that. You did a great job. We'll get the next one up. So thanks, Mallory, so much. You did great.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the feedback.
Okay, bye. Okay, so up next, just having a little bit of a shout out to us. Yes, I know. Follow us on social media, please, as you're seeing all these wonderful things, all of the wonderful founders that are pitching. You'll know more about what they're doing, how they're doing things on social media, and that you can follow us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, all under the umbrella of Stella. So go over there and interact with us, engage with us, send us DMs. We're here to serve. So pitch number 4, I just want to make sure that, oh yes, hi Jody, perfect. So pitch number 4 is Jody Oyen of Remora.
All right. Hello, welcome. Thank you all for taking time and being here today. What a cool opportunity for you all to see these amazing women. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll get right to it. I guess I should make sure everybody can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. And then as soon as you share your screen, I'll let you know that we see it full screen.
Perfect. Thank you.
And just for everybody to know, we also grab Alaska from Northwest. So Jody is our Alaska entrepreneur of the evening. So it was very, we always go after Alaska and Hawaii in both of these Western regions. So without further ado, here's your stage and we can see you.
Perfect. Okay. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this just a little, so I don't have the distraction. All right. Hello, I'm Jody Oyen. Rebecca Clark and I co-founded an app called Remora. And I'm going to start by sharing a few fun facts that'll help you understand why Remora app was created. So a remora is a fish that attaches itself onto sharks or other objects such as ships. And while that fish is hitching a ride, it removes parasites, algae, etc., from the surfaces of whatever it is attached to, therefore creating a symbiotic relationship. Another fun fact that will, you'll understand why I'm sharing these fun facts here and how they're related, is that there are over 200 remote communities in Alaska that rely on air shipments for people and goods. This is everything from groceries to construction materials, medical supplies, and of course the beloved Amazon orders. And fun fact number 3, there are over 300 certified air carriers in Alaska providing scheduled and on-demand services. And these 3 seemingly unrelated facts, combined with 2 women sharing a hangar apartment in rural Alaska, equaled the birth of the Remora app, which is a simple modern tool that can be utilized by all Alaskans. So Rebecca and I met while working for an air service in rural Alaska. We coordinated and flew cargo and passengers throughout the state. And during this time, we realized how archaic and inefficient the current logistical coordination systems used by air carriers were. They used paper manifests, emails, and phones. And we also realized that Alaskans needed a simple, convenient tool to coordinate their personal and professional logistical needs. Very few places in Alaska can be reached by vehicles other than airplanes. And so after months of market research and beta testing, we created the Remora app because we realized that most people, before they even get out of bed in the morning, use several apps on their phone. And this is how things operate this day and age. So essentially, the Remora app works much like the Lyft or Uber concept, where a customer inputs their information, their cargo description or passenger description, and that information is received by an air carrier. The air carrier then responds with a quote. The customer selects the quote, that is best for them, and their goods are delivered to the destination. So this is much more effective and efficient than paper manifest, phones, and emails. And currently, our app is developed, and we are recruiting air carriers. So much like Rebecca and I's relationship, which has grown into a fantastic friendship, our app has grown from an idea into a budding business. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Wonderful job. I'm just trying to get off of video. Perfect. Okay, Jody, for Q&A, you have Al and Cheryl.
Hi, Al and Cheryl.
Hi, Al, why don't you go first this time?
Okay. So I guess in the deck, I think might have had a little additional information versus the pitch that we saw here, but really what I was trying to get as the status of your business. So you have an app that you have built. I'm curious, have you tested it with customers? Are you in a beta of some kind? Are you using it? Or did you just get the app finished and you're really just kind of getting ready to kick that off? And so what's next for you?
Great question. So we did several months of beta testing. We actually did 3 rounds of beta testing, and it was a really great opportunity for us to, one, introduce the idea to air carriers as well as customers in Alaska, and also get a feel for the customer side, which we knew would be the easy side. But we thought if we get the air carriers involved in the beta testing, it kind of gave them a grip or a bite into the product, and they'd be much more interested in using it once we had it fully developed. So we did 3 rounds of beta testing. It is currently fully developed, and we are recruiting air carriers. And we're hoping to do that through the fall, and then we'll bring customers on, which we already have several customers waiting, which is great.
Got it. So you're filling the one side of the marketplace first, and you have a kind of a wait list for the other side.
Absolutely.
Got it. Go ahead, Cheryl. We can go back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, essentially to me, this seems like a data play, right? Like, once you have the data from, customers, you're matching that, with the carriers, a lot of that seems like you're going to have to connect to the APIs, of the data sets, of the carriers. I mean, do you have, data folks, as advisors or, on your team, and how many carriers have you signed up? What's your relationship, with their technical staffs?
Right. Okay. So it's actually really simple. We wanted to keep it very simple because we know it'll be much more successful. If a 10-year-old can operate this system, then anybody can, has been our attitude when we designed it. So it actually can be done through their phone. We also have a website that coordinates, so they can, if they're sitting at their computer, for instance, and coordinating office management duties, they can also have the screen up, and they're going to get notifications on their phone as well as through the Remora app website. So it is a very basic program. Like I said, it's very similar to your Lyft or your Uber. And we have an app developer who has been working on our side.
Right. I don't know that actually answered my question, to be fair,
okay.
Jody.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. It sounds like, the data part of this, though, is something that, ultimately, especially when you work with larger carriers, is going to be really important, to consider. And as someone who's, worked with, different forms of databases, and, AI, machine learning, et cetera, to then, integrate and, enhance those databases, that's something that, ultimately, you'll have to probably look at.
Right. So I guess for AI, we haven't really ventured into that arena. But as far as our databases and connecting with the current carriers, who most of them, like I said, are using paper manifests. So it's not like they have this existing database that they coordinate anything through besides a paper manifest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't make that clear on the first time, but
yes, that's helpful. Yeah, that's helpful to understand. I mean, to a certain extent, for this to scale, though, I mean, you may have to build, you may have to retrain some of them and build databases for them so that this actually, gets automated, for both you and for, for the customers, for you and for them.
Right. And that's exactly why we had to have the website built, was primarily for the air carriers, because they don't have existing databases and they are going through emails and phone calls and paper manifests. They are now using, so far we've got 24 air carriers recruited, and they are using our website to coordinate the flights.
Okay, interesting. And then, what's your marketing strategy look like?
Right. So as I had mentioned before, this fall is the heavy focus on recruiting air carriers. When we first started doing market research and the beta testing, the customer side, they were so excited. I mean, the overwhelming response was, get this into my hands now, because the current method is so archaic. And because in Alaska, there are so many communities that rely solely on air carriers to deliver goods, this is part of daily life in Alaska. For people to coordinate everything that comes into the village, it comes in through an airplane. And so the recruitment, our marketing strategy, a lot of it is, it's a really interesting market. So let me first start with social media. That's our easiest marketing tool, and it's actually our most affordable marketing tool. In addition to that, a lot of rural Alaska still relies on radio advertisements and paper flyers. So to go to an airport, and I use that definition very loosely because it might be just a shack at a gravel runway. But there are posters, there's a poster board, and that's still one of the biggest sources of information in a village, along with both VHF radio as well as your FM AM radios.
Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. We ran out of time. Sorry, Al. Okay, well, maybe if you have a quick question.
Oh, I was going to ask more like, where does she see this business in 5 years, right? It's I love the niche. I think it's really cool to have a company like that. And I'm curious where you think you'll be in 5 years.
Right. Our ultimate goal is actually to sell to an existing logistics company. And we have a couple in mind already that are more local. But we see that this can serve beyond Alaska. There's a lot of rural areas in, the Western United States that rely heavily on air cargo, Canada, New Zealand, Hawaii, South America, a lot of areas that don't have easy access to roads that still rely heavily on air cargo.
Awesome. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. Great job. Great question and answer. Thank you so much, judges, Al and Cheryl, for such great questions. So let me go back here. So as we are moving on, we have our last pitch of the evening, and wanted to just make sure that we do another shout out, as Ad Astra Ventures, our sister organization, has investor boot camps and founder boot camps coming up in the fall. So go on their website and find out more information about how you can get involved. So next up, pitch number 5, last one of the night, is Ashleigh Chapman of Altus Solutions. And I think she's probably on. I took enough time. So Ashleigh, you're up and your screen is shared. You're ready to go.
Okay, wonderful. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Ashleigh Chapman. I am a human rights lawyer and social entrepreneur. And the first thing I'd like to say is thank you to the Stella community. I'm grateful for all you're doing to help women leaders build businesses that can change the world. But tonight, I want to talk about a business that should not exist, namely human trafficking, the sale of human beings for forced labor, sexual exploitation, and organs. This business is impacting over 40 million souls worldwide and is profiting traffickers $150 billion per year. Now, lest we think that's just an international issue, you need to know that human trafficking is present in all 50 states in our United States of America. No community is immune. So what are the solutions that you build to not simply respond to this, but to solve for it? And that's where my heart and head has been at for the last 20 years professionally. Well, first, you got to understand what are the problems that are keeping us from winning the war in the first place. And after helping thousands of organizations globally, I can tell you what's going on. Problem number one is a lack of education by those in a position to recognize and respond to human trafficking. Second is the lack of community response based on strategic data insights and not just our fields. And the third is the need for increased innovation in this field and the movement as a whole. So I got to work and built a team of human rights lawyers, educators, technologists, community consultants, and more. And we added to that business partners and universities too, and these are just a few. And together we began building solutions to tackle those key critical problems. Solutions like Justice U, our online university for justice advocates that provides digital certifications and accredited CEUs for all professions from every field. Justice U is live now with over 4,900 learners and a plan in place to equip 1 million more with all the tools that modern learners need today. And solutions like Engage Together, a community transformation tool that is now award-winning for blending unique technological capabilities with the deep well of expertise of our team, and together walking alongside communities so they can quit guessing at what they need to do to end this and know for sure what they need to do and how to do it together. But how do you scale solutions like that to all the places they needed to go? And that's why we built Altus, a business for good that could leverage impact investments to help us scale and power these solutions to their full potential. And our customer and market opportunities is vast. If we just look at the United States, we need to be educating healthcare providers, law enforcement, teachers, social workers, and so many more professions in every community impacted by this, which, as you can see from this heat map, is nearly everywhere. And we have been testing our different sales channels and revenue streams with success. And based on conservative projections, we believe we can generate about 34 million in revenue in the first 3 years. So we're ready. We're ready to decimate an industry that should not exist, and all we need now is you. Thank you.
Very well done. Thank you so much. Very clear, wonderful team. And your Q&A will be led by Cheryl and Nico. Let's see. Who'd like to go first?
This is amazing, Ashleigh. As someone, myself who's worked, in activism and advocacy and human rights for a really long time, it's very exciting, to see, a product like this and for it to scale really so quickly. What is your, what's your next level of scale and what do you need to get there?
Right now, we're trying to raise about $10 million to scale and saturate what I would call saturate the US market, right? To reach every state with these solutions. We know if we can raise 10, we can generate 30 plus based on some conservative projections and partners that we already have and our products and services that we can offer today, not even the ones we're building for tomorrow. And so that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, a lot of that goes to scaling the team, the technology, and our reach into all of these different markets.
And what do revenues look like now versus, over the next few years?
Yeah, so we're so in the last year, of course, we all know what's been going on in the world, but we've been testing different things basically to get ready to sprint to our finish line, which is the end of trafficking. So in the last year and a half, we've generated about 500,000 in revenue through contracts and just testing different markets for this, like universities integrating these courses as an e-text, and companies like Elevance, formerly Anthem, testing this with all their healthcare providers. So we believe in the next year, we're on track to create about 2 million in revenue. But if we can scale the team fast enough, about 30 in the next 3.
Impressive. Miniko?
Yes. Okay. So I initially was a little bit confused when I first saw your pitch and everything, because I wasn't quite sure what you're selling. So I understand that it looks like you have two products that you're selling. But what are those look like? So your customers, that's it's like a SaaS platform. So it's recurring revenue. If they sign up for a monthly subscription, yearly subscription, what does that look like? How much are those subscriptions? How many customers do you need to get from 500,000 last year to 30 million in 3 years? And how, like,
yes, I have
how
a
are you going to do
slide on
that?
So I was trying to find it for you. Here we go. So let's just take healthcare providers as just one profession we're trying to train through Justice U. We have a healthcare series. It's a 5-course series that provides continuing medical education units for doctors, nurses, hospital caseworkers, et cetera. Our partner on this was Anthem, but we're talking with many different health insurance providers and hospital groups across the country. So over 22 states right now are mandating this training, that their healthcare providers receive training.
Okay.
And even though we price it so reasonably, right? So it's like, I think right now at maybe a $60 product for all 5 courses. If we sign a contract with, say, like Anthem, who has 55,000 doctors and nurses who need this, it adds up fast. That's sort of how it works.
Got it. Okay. All right. So sorry, I completely missed, like, what are you selling?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I understood the mission behind it. I think it's something that everyone in the world can be on board with. But I just didn't understand, like, what are you selling? What are those units that you're selling? Okay. And so you mentioned that it's going to be required training in where did that requirement come down from? And, is it at the federal level requirement, or is it a local thing?
All kinds of ways, thankfully, right? So I've been working in this for about a decade as a human rights lawyer, helping our federal government tackle this, but also state laws. So over 22 states have passed laws mandating this type of training, but it's not that they don't provide the training; they just mandate that you have to receive it.
Yeah.
And then professional associations, that we've been working with too, have been mandating it just as a best practice, for like their mental health therapists working with kids in foster care, for instance. So those mandates will help. The other thing that helps with recurring revenue is an unfortunate reality, which is in these helping professions, which is the high rate of turnover in these professions. So you can train a hospital this year and have to go back at it again, in 2 years again. But also universities who are using the courses as an e-text for their graduating programs, which we're pretty excited about too.
Okay, so, and then these courses that you have on the one particular platform, you guys create them once and then people will be able to see them, so you can scale from 500 people to 1,000 people without having to hire additional instructors, so to speak.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
I get it. Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So question, what's your exit strategy look like?
Well, we got a long way to that moment, right? So we want to end human trafficking and address the vulnerabilities that drive it. For investors, the way that we have currently structured it is that we will have the company evaluated each year as we grow. And at any point in time that our shareholders want to exit themselves, then they can sell that back to us, to our other shareholders, or to others with our approval, that they know too. So it's not a typical kind of exit strategy, I guess, for a company. But one day this will no longer exist. And I think that's going to be a lot to celebrate. And we can create a really healthy financial return for our investors too along the way.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashleigh. Thank you, Cheryl and Miniko, for the questions. We are done with the Northwest. Thank you, Ashleigh, for closing us out today. It has been a wonderful time together. So thank you so much for everybody. I want to remind the audience that you will be voting for your audience choice right now. So in the next couple of minutes and throughout the whole time that we have the wonderful Cooley coming on and giving you some education. So what is next? The judges will deliberate. So I'm going to go with them, and our awesome CEO at Stella is going to stay on and help with this educational piece from Cooley that we're so excited about bringing to you. So I want to remind the judges to keep their screens on as we transition into the next room. So judges, keep your videos on, and then go on over to the breakout room. Now, time to vote for the audience choice. For you out in the audience right now, see the link in the chat box and visit Slido.com with number 54672. It's on the chat below, so don't worry about it. You don't have to remember anything. So a very special presentation on board basics with Phoebe Huang of Cooley. She's based in Seattle, Washington, hence the Northwest. She practices corporate and securities laws and represents companies across a broad spectrum of industries. Phoebe advises her clients through all stages of a business life cycle with her general corporate practice. Also, she represents issuers and investors in private financings and issuers and underwriters in public offerings. So let me just make sure she's here. She's ready to go. And oh yes, you are. Wonderful job. Phoebe, we'll see you in a little bit. So have a fantastic time.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Just want to make sure everyone can see that. It's always so hard to follow up on so many fun pitches with a little educational piece and hard to compare board composition with the exciting topics and innovation that we had heard from our founders today. But Cooley's so excited to be a partner for this event. And we're here really today just to provide some high-level overview on different considerations and different ways to make sure that your board is supporting your business and also to find the right strategies for maintaining good hygiene at the board level. So we'll go ahead and dive right into forming the company's board of directors. Every company has a board of directors, and it's a legal requirement for all corporations. In the United States, most of our companies that we deal with and see are probably formed in Delaware, where you can have just one director. And oftentimes for a solo founder, the solo founder acts as the one director that's required. The board of director composition naturally changes as the corporation grows. And so as the founders continue to pivot their business and think of new strategies and engage more investors and more industry experts, naturally, the board composition grows to reflect what the company needs in terms of strategic thinking. And so don't be too concerned about who needs to be on your board when you first start your company, but rather just understand and keep in mind that you're going to be engaging more and more individuals as your company grows. The document that governs and sets forth different procedures and processes for running your board of directors is called the bylaws. Every company has a set of bylaws, and within those bylaws, there are different types of procedures in place to make sure that your board is run smoothly and has a process for different situations that may come up, and also to make sure that it's following all the different laws that regulate running a board. And so here's a laundry list of different things that might be in your bylaws. And just note that your bylaws may contain additional flavors that match your industry or match whatever you end up negotiating with various investors. And so how exactly do directors join and leave the board? As I mentioned before, when you are a founder, you're probably just going to appoint yourself as the initial director. And so you will sit on the board typically with just yourself and maybe your co-founder. And then as different people start to engage with you and to engage with the company, you may consider expanding your board to have additional directorships and additional seats. Typically, those additional seats are going to be filled by your stockholders, again, depending on what your bylaws actually dictate. And then directors and stockholders throughout the life of a company will decide on who gets to remove certain directors, who gets to be added to certain director seats. And then also, of course, as directors come and go through resignations, your bylaws and other documents will also dictate who gets to appoint those directors when there's a resignation or if there's a removal. Directors will typically serve on the board for as long as they are qualified to do so or until they resign. and then also until usually the next meeting of the stockholders. For early stage companies, we do see directors serve for quite a few years before there really is a transition in their directorship. But obviously, as the company grows and becomes a larger later stage company, we see more procedures in place for 2-year terms, 3-year terms for the directorships. So how does a board take action and actually decide or vote on material matters for a company? Again, you want to look at your bylaws to see what are the processes and procedures you need to follow. But typically the bylaws will tell you, what are the requirements for sending out notice to your board. This is really important because you want to make sure that the directors can actually attend your board meeting so that you can engage in thoughtful discussions about the direction of the company. Your bylaws also tell you what quorum requirements are needed in order to actually have a meeting and to decide on these matters. And then there's also other terms that are set forth for dictating how you actually conduct a meeting. Typically, especially nowadays, given the post-pandemic situation, a lot of meetings take place telephonically or over Zoom. But it used to be that board meetings occurred in person, and we'll go a little bit more into that later on in one of the slides. The one thing I would emphasize here on this slide is when you have a board meeting, meaning the directors are actually meeting together, whether it's telephonically or physically, as long as you meet the quorum requirements, you can decide on certain board matters and take action on those. If you are making decisions as a board outside of a board meeting, then any board decisions that get made need to be through written consent, and written consent must be a unanimous vote. And so this is a very common question I get from a lot of my companies, especially early stage companies, which is what exactly does the board approve? Here's a laundry list of what I would suggest you start with. Anything that's ranging from hiring key management or executive officers, anything that has to do with stock and equity. So whether that's granting options or raising money for a financing and you're issuing preferred stock, all of those matters require board approval. Anything that has to deal with the company's organization. So, organizational documents, meaning the certificate of incorporation or the bylaws, or if the company is thinking about doing a new type of corporate structure, so meaning forming a subsidiary or forming an entity abroad to deal with overseas engagement, all of that typically requires board approval. Anytime there's a sale of the company, or if your company is thinking about selling a really important asset or engaging in any type of material agreement, that typically requires board approval. But your outside counsel or law firm can help you figure out what exactly the approvals are needed. And then this is kind of a catch-all one, but basically anything that's material to your business really should be considered by the board. And I know here, basically it's everything that's outside of the ordinary course of business. And so, for example, if you're thinking about engaging a bank to get a line of credit, that's really material. That's kind of a special circumstance. And so that probably needs board approval. Or if you're thinking about giving everyone a special bonus for the year, or you're thinking about doing a reduction of force, any of those things that you start to, you feel like this is a little bit special circumstance, all of that will typically require board approval. And so kind of moving forward into how to actually conduct a board meeting and what is typical for companies to do. Again, this kind of ranges from early stage company to later stage companies. I would typically say early stage companies are probably only conducting 1 board meeting or 2 board meetings in the very beginning because your board is really small. Again, oftentimes comprised of only the founders. And so, it's in the beginning, the board meetings tend to be less formal and tend to be less common. But as the company grows and your board naturally grows to involve more independent directors and perhaps investor directors, you really want to start setting consistent board meetings because it's very important to know how you're going to conduct business through the rest of the year. And it's also a really important signal to investors that you have it together and that you are thinking through these really strategic moments that naturally happen during a year for a company. And so a couple of hygiene things I just wanted to flag for everyone here on this slide. It's really good to set all of your board meetings in advance for the entire year. And the reason, again, is, back to the notice requirement that I mentioned earlier. Not only is it important to give notice to all your directors, you actually want to make sure that your directors can attend those meetings. If it's a telephonic meeting, it's not that big of a deal, but a lot of times clients want to have physical board meetings in person. And so it's important to set that ahead of time. I would say managing time carefully during a board meeting is something that obviously everyone struggles with, but it's very, very important to think about. And in my opinion, the best way to learn how to manage your time carefully is to circulate all of your board materials in advance. When you circulate board materials in advance to your board, not only does it give them enough time to actually go through all the reading material and come up with really thoughtful and constructive feedback, but it's also a great way for you as the CEO or as chairman of the board to really gather your thoughts and make sure you have everything ready for the board meeting. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a board meeting where the board materials were only circulated an hour beforehand, and so most of the board meeting is actually spent just briefly addressing these points, but then it's not that productive of a time for all these really important and thoughtful people to get together and actually decide on particular business issues. And so I think the one takeaway here that I really encourage you to think about, especially if you're a founder and you're sitting, you're kind of running your business for the first time, is just anything that you can get out in advance really helps you to stay on track for your board meetings. And then that also allows you to focus your board meeting to really be about discussion and key strategic conversations instead of focusing on administrative matters. I already kind of pointed out things on the slide, but again, board meetings can occur physically or physically meeting in person, or it can be telephonically. Typically, people who attend to the board meetings are obviously all of your board members. Frequently, it's going to involve a lot of your executive team or your management team because they're there to present on key metrics or key accomplishments of the business. Generally speaking, your outside counsel will be there. And so I know at Cooley, we frequently go to our clients' board meetings to kind of provide some legal support and also just to sit in and listen on the business. And then also, if you have negotiated any special board observer rights for your investors, then they will be included there as well. Where do you actually have the board meetings? If you're having an in-person board meeting, that really varies by company. A lot of our clients will use spaces, they'll either use Cooley's law offices, or they'll use a space that they use from the investor. Depending on what issues are being discussed, sometimes there is sensitivity around hosting board meetings actually at the headquarters of the corporation, because then you're lending, employees and other people the opportunity to see that you're deciding on something important. And so just be thoughtful about where you're having these board meetings, and depending on, of course, the topics that are up for discussion that day. Minutes are important because they help you track what is happening at these board meetings, and it's also legally required. It's important for a company to have really good, clean corporate records, especially as you're leading up to a really material decision, such as a financing or a sale of the company. All board meetings should be recorded. You should designate a secretary at the beginning of the board meeting. If you have outside counsel, usually outside counsel will act as secretary. And then, you want to make sure they're being kept in the same place as all of your written consents so that it's easy access to see where all the board decisions have been made. And then there's a couple of hygiene points here on this slide, keeping things very high level, making sure it's accurate, making sure it's formal. And then just, of course, including all of the key decisions that the board has made throughout that meeting. Committees are more appropriate for later stage companies. In the beginning, you're probably not thinking about committees, but as the board naturally grows, you're no longer a 2-person board, now you're a 7-person board. It just starts to make sense to have committees that can actually help the board focus on really small strategic decisions. And so most companies will have an audit and compensation committee, and then sometimes also a nominating and corporate governance committee. These committees, usually are comprised of maybe 2 or 3 directors instead of all 7 directors. And it just helps the board expedite decision-making by delegating these committee members to have the full power and authority of the board, but then allow them to focus on these specific decisions. And I'll just breeze through this go through this really quickly. But serving on the board does come with a lot of responsibilities. And on this slide here, I'll just briefly mention a couple of important fiduciary duties of directors. As a director, there are certain duties that you need to be aware of, duty of loyalty, making sure that you're not acting in your personal interest as maybe a stockholder or as the CEO or as a founder, but really acting in the benefit of the corporation and its stockholders. And then going on to the duty of care, just making sure that you are acting reasonably and you're really, staying informed about the business and what is happening in the world. And this is again where getting board materials in advance can really help directors act in their duty of care by giving them enough time to do their own research and also conduct, whatever they need to do so that they can actually make informed decisions. Other things here, interested transactions. If a director does have any type of conflict of interest, making sure that's being disclosed to the rest of the directors, and so that the directors can make a decision and vote on matters without that interested director. And this is just a brief slide to talk about what happens when there are breaches of fiduciary duties, but I'll skip past that. And then indemnification. This is something that we talk about often, and it's not really negotiated. Directors are they're always indemnified. They're indemnified by law, and they're usually indemnified as well by the company's bylaws, as well as their certificate of incorporation. And directors will sign what is called an indemnification agreement. And in the indemnification agreement, it sets forth different procedures for how directors will be indemnified in the event there is any litigation against a director. D&O insurance is a related point because most companies will seek out an insurance carrier to provide, a package in case there is any type of claim that comes to the company for any director actions. And so again, this is something your outside counsel can guide you through. And there's a lot of different options out there on the market. And so I just encourage you to keep these two things in mind as you're growing your company. This is just a really general slide that I'll end on here about who and when you should really be recruiting people for the board. I've probably hammered this point too many times by now, but again, early stage, probably a fairly small board comprised mostly again of founders, maybe a couple of strategic advisors that already, but usually it's pretty small. As the company grows, you start to seek more directors that can offer strategic or really good advice for growing the business. And so, for example, you might be two technical founders and, you might have really great technical expertise that you're bringing to the company, but perhaps you raise your Series A and now you don't know what to do with the $20 million that you just raised. You'll probably have a Series A director, whoever led your round, be sitting on your board and then providing kind of feedback from the market. But it might be also the right time for you now to get an advisor who can, maybe has 20 years of industry expertise that can help you figure out what the right next steps are. I would encourage you to seek out, just ask. There's a lot of resources out there when it comes to looking for independent directors who can come provide that level of expertise. And so I would just encourage you to think about different people, different dynamics that you want to have on your board. And so you can refer back to this slide kind of to talk to you, that kind of goes through the development of a board when the time comes for you to grow. And so I will pause there to see if there are any questions from anyone. And I know I probably ran over a little bit of time here.
You probably did great.
Sorry, I was like, my video now isn't starting. No, what's happening? Raven here. If you can't see me.
Hi, Raven.
You look great.
Well, I couldn't see myself because I had hit the button that had her spotlighted. Thank you. We're actually out of time. So
yeah, that's great.
It was super helpful and insightful. So thank you so much for joining us. If anyone ends up needing more questions answered, you can email us and we'll put you in touch with Phoebe. All right, the moment. Are we bringing the founders back in?
Wonderful. I just want to make sure I get my cheat sheet correctly. I will go back here. Perfect. So everybody's coming back in, the founders and the judges. The judges had a great time deliberating. They wanted everybody to know, we don't have a lot more time, so I'm trying to keep it quick, is that everybody did such a great job of talking about their value proposition. There's some technologies, there's some platforms, great presentations, and they will be sending you feedback in a later date. So without further ado, I'm going to announce the audience choice first, and then announce the winner. So the audience choice winner of today is Roura. So congratulations on the audience choice of the Women's Fast Pitch of Northwest. But now the drum roll, please. The winner of the Women's Fast Pitch
Did we lose her?
Seriously, disappeared.
That is a drum roll moment.
That's an amazing drum roll. Oh wow, I was not in the judges' deliberation, so I don't know if one of you want to step up and announce that.
Can we? Should we wait?
Yeah, absolutely. It was Roura.
Aurora.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Amazing product, and we're wishing you all the best. But all of these companies, we believe,
Was it Roura or Remora?
Roura. Last
Same as the audience. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Same as the audience. Yes, but as I was going to say, all of the startups we think have amazing potential, and are all going to be tidy little businesses, and in some cases really big businesses that go on to be acquired. And we're really excited for all of you. Thanks for participating.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. That's awesome. And thank you to the judges and all the women. Good luck.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to all of the judges who show up every week and support this community. I am going to do just our couple quick 3 announcements that I asked you to stay for to the end, and then we'll send you back off into the wild. We're calling all accredited investors. If you signed up for any of our events and you are an accredited investor, you will be hearing from us with the opportunity to help facilitate an SPV with us for any of these founders. So you'll be hearing about that. Next up is you're here because this is a culmination of the Women's Venture Summit. So if you want to see who wins after all of these 5, join us at Women's Venture Summit. There's going to be so many wonderful topics and it's an exciting time. You can connect with other investors, other female founders, network with community, really build it up. Lastly, this is not the only event we do. We do other events all year long. So just know that we have a cohort that just went through our labs to help either launch or scale their business, and they will be graduating in a demo day on September 1st. Make sure you're signed up for our email or following us on social media so you get more information. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you for the last region next week.